Yeah, they couldn't. I was like, you don't know when he was driving. I was like, that's the big hole in your case is you don't. I mean, you can't really establish he was driving at all. Maybe somebody else was driving, and they left, and he just climbed in the more comfortable seat and reclined it. And so I actually do believe that one did end up with a dismissal, thankfully. I mean, particularly he's a veteran, defending our country. I mean, everyone should get the benefit of the doubt, obviously, but certainly people who are in the military. So that one worked out. I had another one. This one was maybe a little bit more egregious. The person was in the back of a van, but he was in the middle of the road, or in the middle of the I think it was 4-lane highway, and then you got that grassy part in the middle. As I recall, I was working with another attorney on this one. I remember us being kind of frustrated. He didn't even pull over on the side. He pulled into the grass in the middle. But he did. That one was a little bit better though, because he physically got out of the driver's seat and climbed into the back and closed the door and went to sleep. And then similar situation, law enforcement just pulls up, kind of investigating this apparently abandoned van in the middle of the highway, and finds a drunk guy asleep in the back. And we're like, well, how do you know he was driving? How do you know when he was driving? How are you going to establish what these results even connect to? And so that one also ended up with a positive result. And I think you had mentioned misnomers, or things people believe that aren't true. DUI may be the biggest situation where there's all these false ideas by the public. Like I've heard people tell me, like, well, if you get pulled over by DUI, there's basically, that's it. Either you're drunk or you're not. And it really doesn't work that way. I mean, as you can see, there's, it's like any other criminal case. You're entitled to full due process, up to and including a jury trial. And this one may be one, because it's so heavily regulated, that there's almost more hoops that the state has to jump through in this than anything else, because they're having to establish like what the chemistry is inside your body, which they don't have to do in a shooting or a possession of drugs case. So yeah, just because you get pulled over, and even if you did the field sobriety test, and even if you took the chemical test, it's always worth it to talk to a lawyer, because who knows, maybe they shouldn't have stopped you in the first place. I've had on that topic, I had a guy, it was just, the officer clearly pulled him over because it was a carload of college kids on a Friday night. And you can tell that from the video evidence from the officer himself. You can't do that. Law enforcement doesn't get to just pull you over because they want to, or because they think, we've got a good chance that the person might be, doing something illegal. They have to have an articulable, reasonable reason to even stop you. And then, like I said, they've got to do everything correct from then on in order to sustain a conviction. And if you go in there without a lawyer, you're most likely going to come out with a conviction for DUI. If you hire a lawyer, you may still get a DUI, but there's a chance you could end up with something much less severe, or even an outright dismissal, as has happened in some cases that I've had.